So now that you guys have a little understanding of bushmeat hunting, I want to talk about some related industries. And I do this because some of these are very close to us and we can have a direct impact on them. I want to remind you that this is kind of our visual. Keep bushmeat as the overall picture, but now we're going to move on to these 3 columns of related categories. The first industry is logging. We know that deforestation is really bad. It has a negative impact on our climate, on our ecosystems, but it's really bad for the animals in that forest. Not only does it fragment them and make them easier targets, it also allows hunters to have easy access to the animals. Remember how I said it could take 4 hours just to hike a little bit in the jungle? Well, if loggers come in and kind of cut a road or a pathway through the forest, hunters can just walk down that pathway and have easy access to the animals. Loggers are also not fed on the job. They can't bring a lunch with them, put it in the refrigerator, or run down to Burger King on their lunch break. They have to eat whatever is there. Most of them decide that if they're going to have to hunt, they might as well hunt something that's also going to bring them a little bit of money at market. Now there's another conservation barrier that we will talk about. Loggers and miners and other people who destroy the environment do not want animals around because this is going to impede their business. And of course, conservationists don't want them around because it's damaging to the population of animals and to the ecosystem. This is what happened with the gorillas in the Democratic Republic of Congo a few years ago. This was not a logging industry, but it was the coal mining industry. Basically, they slaughtered an entire family of 5 gorillas. They did not eat the gorillas, they did not sell the gorillas. They left them there as a warning to conservationists. Their idea was, if you're going to tell us to not mine here because the gorillas will be injured, well then we'll go ahead and wipe out the gorillas and you'll have no problem with us mining here. So conservationists have a lot of barriers to overcome, but as I'll talk about in a little bit with my research, it's because a lot of conservationists focus too much on the animals and not enough on the humans involved as well. The second industry is the entertainment industry. This is really close to many of us. We live near Los Angeles and Hollywood, where there's lots of entertainment. I have 2 things I really want you guys to understand about entertainment. Number 1, if you see a chimpanzee on any form of entertainment, either in a show, a commercial, on film, it is an infant. Adult chimpanzees are about 10 times stronger than a human. They're dangerous, they're unpredictable. Now, a lot of trainers will say that they use positive reinforcement, but this is not true. I worked with the Santa Ana Zoo for many years, trying to get our primates to come to see the vet without being anesthetized and not being scared. And we used lots of great rewards, lots of positive interaction, and most of the time they just did not do anything. This is because primates are intelligent and they're stubborn. And if they don't want to do something, they're not going to. So training for entertainment usually involves negative reinforcement, which is just random abuse. They can burn, pinch, hit the animal, even sometimes use cattle prods or tasers on them. And what this does is it makes the animal completely terrified of the trainer, so it will do whatever the trainer asks. Now, the second reason I titled my presentation the way I did is because of something known as the chimpanzee or the primate smile. Now, humans are the only weird ones in that we show our teeth when we're happy. Other animals do not do this. If you saw a wild dog and he showed you his teeth, you would know he was not smiling at you, he was going to attack you. Primates are the same way. When they are smiling, it is a fear grimace. They are terrified for their lives. This can only come about because of negative reinforcement. Sadly, when a primate becomes too old to control, usually about 5 or 6 years old, they are sold to biomedical testing. Here we have some images of the chimpanzee smile. You can see it's just baring his teeth. But because they look so much like ourselves, they remind us of ourselves, we just assume they smile for the same reasons. This is prevalent on greeting cards. Every time I look at greeting cards, there's always a smiling chimp, so make sure that you know and you tell people that smiling chimps are not good. My family is found out the hard way, sending me a lot of smiling chimp cards, that it's not the right thing to do. Commercials are also a source of using primates for entertainment. Career Builder had an entire campaign with chimpanzees in suits in an office. Dodge used an infant, probably about 1 year old, in its commercial, and there was such an outlash that they had to go back in, CGI it out, and donate a lot of money to animal welfare groups. This is great, but what we want to do is make sure companies know not to use the primates in the first place. Now, I was going to tell you not to watch NBC's Animal Practice show because it has Crystal, who is a capuchin monkey, and every time you see her, she is smiling. But thankfully, it was already canceled, so that was good. But unfortunately, the next week, one of my favorite shows, 30 Rock, had a capuchin on it. So definitely somebody needs to send this presentation to NBC executives so they know to stop using primates. Crystal was also used in The Hangover Part 2, and there was an infant chimpanzee in Speed Racer. Now, there's a really easy solution to this. You can just use computers. Computers are not unpredictable. Computers are not going to be dangerous and attack your cast and crew. You can use computer graphics, you can get your results, and you don't have any liability. This is what happened with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It was a great movie. It was very entertaining, very successful. All of the primates in it were computer generized, and it was a really great movie that I really want people to support. So anytime you see computer graphics used, make sure you do support those in entertainment. The third connected industry is the pet trade. Now, most primates kept as pets are illegal. I understand the attraction, though. If you've ever seen a baby primate, they're adorable. If you've interacted with them, they are pretty irresistible. And most of the time, people have very good intentions. They're just ignorant to what could happen or what could be the outcome. In a few years, primates become very difficult to control. When they are maturing, it's very normal for them to climb, to tear things, to throw things, bite, scream, pee and poop all over the place. That's what they do in the forest. It's not great that they do that in your living room. So people start having to take drastic measures. They'll keep the primates in tiny cages. Sometimes they'll make them wear shock collars. People even remove their teeth. Usually what happens is the family will have to give the primate away. Most of the sanctuaries in our country are full. They cannot take any more primates, so the family has to come to the horrible decision to sell their pet, part of their family, to biomedical research, which is a horrible, horrible end that could have been avoided. Here we have an adorable baby monkey who is quite capable of injuring her owner at a very young age. You can imagine when she's full grown and she has her full canines, the damage that she could inflict. The next picture is very graphic. I want to warn people. I put it in here because it very well demonstrates my point here. This picture shows a woman who was visiting her friend who had an adult male chimpanzee as a pet. Now, the chimpanzee was kept by himself. People found out later he was also drugged a lot of the time to try to curb his energy. He was probably going through puberty. He was probably very confused, very aggressive, and sadly, he attacked this woman. She came on Oprah to really tell people the dangers of exotic animals. She lost everything. She lost both of her eyes. She can no longer eat food. She has a tracheotomy and she speaks through a voice box. She also lost both of her hands because she was trying to defend herself. Chimpanzees are smart. They know to go for the face and the genitals because those are the two places that are going to incapacitate somebody very quickly. She basically ruined her life and the chimpanzee was killed. All of this could have been avoided if the owner didn't make an ignorant decision. All right, the last connected industry is biomedical field. And this is always very difficult to talk about because everyone in this room has benefited from biomedical testing. We've all had vaccinations, we've all taken medication. The problem I have, though, is that we have the capability and the technology to not have to use animal subjects. Johns Hopkins has an entire school that progresses medicine without using any type of animal testing. Most primates at the beginning were captured from the wild. A lot of primates now are bred at facilities. I've toured facilities where they keep up to 20 or 25 monkeys in each cage. They're basically treated as living test tubes and not as actual animals. Now, apes are only legally required to be kept in a cage 5 feet by 5 feet by 7 feet. If you did not get a chance to see it before you came in, make sure you see the taped square in the lobby on the floor. That is the size of a cage that chimpanzees spend their entire lives in. Now, most of these primates are kept alone. They don't have much to do. They don't have many toys, which leads to a lot of psychological problems. They're tested on with horrible diseases. A lot of biomedical primates have records that show they undergo over 500 medical procedures in their lifetimes. These include biopsies, surgeries, organ removal, bone removal, prosthetics. You can imagine how horrible and how painful their lives must be. Now, I also, I have a moral objection to this, but I also have a scientific objection. I told you that chimpanzees and humans are about 99% identical in their DNA. That 1% is very different. It makes us very different creatures. Now, one example is HIV. The disease HIV in humans came from a form known as SIV in the primate line. A lot of people think this was through bushmeat hunting, that humans were in contact with SIV because we have such close genetics, it mutated into HIV. Primates do not develop AIDS, and they do not die from this, the way that humans develop AIDS and die from HIV. Yet we've spent 4 decades and billions of dollars trying to find a cure for HIV by testing it on chimps. Secondly, we know from science class that you can only manipulate one variable at a time. When you add in the psychological stresses and fears, the combinations of medications, diseases, and procedures that the primates have, along with the genetic differences, it's no wonder that we are no farther in finding cures for diseases than we were in the 1970s. So what's the point of all of this? I promise it's not to depress you. I want to first let you all know how important primates are to us, how they are intelligent and emotional beings. You heard in the video that Dr. Fouts was saying they are so closely related to us. We should treat them as relatives. Now, part 2 is going to look at, if bushmeat is so bad, why is it not being stopped? What I have found is that there is a huge lack of knowledge on this. If you remember, a lot of people in here didn't know what bushmeat hunting was, and I encounter that every day. Secondly, conservation research focuses way too much on the animals and not enough on the humans.